People who attended their high school reunion, what was the biggest surprise? The only real surprise was just how wrong we were about how people would turn out. The Ivy League-bound people you were sure would be CEOs one day, ended up dropping out of college, having normal middle-class lives, jobs, and marriages, and just being happy as average. The people you were sure would end up like Wooderson from school days, turned out to get master's degrees and even PhDs in one case, and now work in either government or aerospace. The guy who fought to get into West Point, ended up doing his required 4 years and then leaving the armed services. One guy ended up becoming a semi-successful author, and nobody saw that coming. 2 committed suicide, and many asked why. He seemed to have everything going for him. The girl who got pregnant at 16, who you were sure was destined for a life of struggle, ended up landing a great career and retiring early. And her kids turned out to be great people who any parent would be proud of. The people you were sure would never lose contact with their friend group, vanished as if they never existed. The people who had to ask yourself, I don't recall that name at all, did they graduate in my class, are now friends with 75% of the class on Facebook, and active. The athletes, boys and girls, are now anything but athletes, overweight and frumpy. The frumpy-dumpy ones now are rock climbers and hike the entirety of the Appalachian Trail. It just goes to show, who you are on graduation day, is absolutely not who you will become in 3, 5, 10, or 30 years. The future is yet unwritten, and the only thing stopping you from change, is yourself. Edit, thanks for the award. Aw, that's a great HS story. Of course she meant it, probably was a very fond memory for her. You should have been honest, and opened up as to how totally embarrassed you were that day. She'd have probably gotten a kick out of it. She gave birth a few days later. That was quite some hug. I definitely think she appreciated the chocolates and found it so sweet that you showed an act of kindness no one else did. I don't see how that should be embarrassing, and it just shows how society is really weird and overly judgmental. My husband and I graduated from high school together. This year will be our 20th reunion. We attended our 10th reunion 10 years ago, and it reminded me why I hated high school so much to begin with, LOL. First of all, the people in charge of planning it threw out the words professional networking opportunity 1,000 times before the event. If by networking, they meant everyone getting shit-faced and reverting back to 10-year-old high school drama, then they hit the nail on the head. I used to be on Facebook, and I would read these people's posts and think, wow, they have these perfect, amazing lives. The night of the reunion, after the liquor was flowing and people let their masks slip, I realized how phony their internet personas were and that some of them had some serious problems going on in life. That whole time, I had been being completely authentic on my social media like a sucker. The next morning, I deleted my accounts and never went back. I learned a valuable lesson that we are all going through the ups and downs of life. I just would prefer not to be inundated with everyone else's all the time and would like to keep my own to myself. I recently got an email for the 20th with a questionnaire about where it should be held. I tried to make the case for one of our local casinos, because A, I like it there, B, my husband and I can book a hotel room and not worry about the drive home after, and most importantly, C, if I'm not feeling the vibe with my old classmates, I can go gamble or see a show or a number of other things. 10th is just a night out at the bar. I first went to my 15th, the egos and all seemed to have dropped by then. 20th felt more official of a reunion. The reunion itself. My wife was down in the state south of us for training and got into an accident. I went down and got things sorted with her so she was good and went back to what she was doing, and I drove back north. It was a Friday and I was driving through my hometown and figured I would take my mother out to a restaurant we used to both really like going to. As we were eating, an old friend from high school walked through, waved and headed into the back. Then another, and another, and another. Just as I was about to get up and go see what was going on, an old girlfriend and later good friend walked in, saw me and came up to talk for a bit. Then she asked if we should head back there, which confused me. Turns out I made it to the 10th year reunion for my class without knowing that I was at the 10th year reunion for my class. I finished my dinner with my mom, let her take my car home, I would catch a ride, and had a good night at the reunion. I didn't know to expect. Similar experience. I had no intention of going to my 5-year, completely put it out of my mind. Home during the summer and at the bar with younger brother and his friends. So many classmates, which wasn't the oddest thing. But they all kept asking me, where were you? I didn't get it and answered over there and waved my hand in a generation direction, like a smart ass. I was at the bar ordering drinks and looking around, noticed about half the patrons were classmates. It dawned on me. I was inadvertently crashing the reunion after party. How does it feel knowing that nobody got in touch with you about the reunion in the first place? Did you know the reunion was in town and just not sure where it went? Or did you not know anything about it at all? That's pretty cool either way. Cool story, not being sarcastic. Our valedictorian went to Harvard and now runs a tutoring company. She was never interested in winning a Nobel Prize or being a bazillionaire. She's definitely brilliant, though. 20-year reunion. How many people seemed like they wanted to get to know me better in high school? When I was in high school, I felt like a total social pariah and I would only approach people I thought were also at the bottom of the social food chain. It turns out, a lot of pretty cool people would have likely been my friends if I had given them a chance and been more open to it. Many people mentioned that they thought about being friends or better friends with me but weren't quite sure why it didn't happen. Also, at the reunion, I was much more extroverted and confident, and I realized a lot of the people I thought were popular snobs were very cool people. Back in high school, it's not like those folks were begging me to hang out and I said no, but I was definitely defensive because I didn't want to get rejected. This means that I might have missed out on having not only more friends, but better ones, because picking from the lowest rung of the ladder often meant I was dealing with people who had a lot of emotional problems. It just goes to show, who you are on graduation day, is absolutely not who you will become in 3, 5, 10, or 30 years. The future is yet unwritten, and the only thing stopping you from change, is yourself. Very true. And there are lots of people that I know that have taken unexpected turns in their life. But by and large most people turned out how we would have expected them to. The burnouts, most ended up doing menial jobs, laboring away trying to make ends meet. The jocks, pretty much all failed in their sports dream and ended up in sales types of careers, although some have been very successful doing so. The geeks went on to be doctors, engineers, accountants, lawyers, etc. The popular attractive girls, I have to say there was some real wide variability. Some just married, some went to successful careers, some just got old and fat. As a former athletic type, I will say I never liked being an athlete. It was just what the people around me attributed my worth to be. I still play some crap ice hockey, but I hate every minute and simply don't know how to reconnect into new sports that are more fun. Moreover, the guys like me who I played rugby with after high school, we all put on pounds generally because we never learned to eat normal diets. Just 2,500 calorie a day type light days because so much time was spent keeping weight on along with some partying lifestyle. Also, unless you have a good support network when you are transitioning away from sport, it is hell. School days. Is that an alternate title or something for dazed and confused? The frumpy dumpy ones now are rock climbers and hike the entirety of the Appalachian Trail. That is insanely accurate. Because that's me. I am now a climber and I have hiked the entirety of the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail and Continental Divide Trail. LOL. People who are athletic for all their life have a hard time adjusting to slowing down. They get so used to having an excessive diet or being able to consume whatever knowing they'll work it off, that once they stop it's hard to get used to scaling back their dieting regimen. Every single person I went to basic training with that had gone to military schools to start a long military career or had gone to college to become an officer and were rightly snobbish about it, yeah, every single one of them finished their first term contracts and dipped from military life. Oh, I have a good story. When we were in school, one of the popular, attractive girls had her birthday party at the cinema and invited me. I wasn't really a loser, just not popular, so I was pretty stoked to be invited. I think the movie was rated for adults, and me and the short kid weren't allowed in. I think my game face mustn't have been good enough, because I was average height for my age and younger looking, shorter guys had gotten in. Me and the short kid sat in a different movie and then went home. To make matters worse, I completely embarrassed myself by buying the girl chocolates and bringing them, wrapped, to the movies. I did this partially because I thought she was pretty, and partly because that's what I was brought up to do. Nobody else bought her a present. So, not only did I look like an idiot giving her a present in front of everyone, I didn't even get into the movie. A few people asked where I was afterward and I couldn't lie. Word got around. I was so embarrassed. Anyway, a few days after this girl's birthday, in PE class, she came up to talk to me and thanked me again, and said she was still enjoying the chocolates. I brushed her off, because I was still super embarrassed, and part of me thought I would gain some coolness points if I pretended it was no big deal, or I didn't even remember, or some such thing. Anyway, just before the reunion, we did a tour of our old school grounds. When this girl, now very much a woman, saw me, she came up, heavily pregnant, and still a smoke show, and gave me a huge, long hug. I don't think I spoke to her even during high school, let alone after. We didn't really talk much at the reunion. She gave birth a few days later. Since the reunion, I have wondered if she really was touched by my getting her a gift, and maybe something could have eventuated. Of course, she could have just been being polite. The weirdest part though, was getting drunk with the two guys I'd started school with, and long since parted ways with.